Hello everyone, this is a speedrun of Clock Tower 3 on the PlayStation 2. The final time is 1 hour, 23 minutes, and 44 seconds in real time. There is no in-game timer displayed at the end of the run, so going in real time is pretty much the only choice. Clock Tower 3 is a pretty big departure from the previous Clock Tower games in that it controls more like a survival horror game than a point-and-click adventure game. So, on top of being a scared teenage girl simulator, it is also a pretty competent survival horror game. We'll start by crawling into this fireplace here. There is an item, the sacred bottle, which allows us to use holy water. Holy water is our primary weapon to use against the various stalker type enemies throughout the game. Instead of pressing straight down to turn around, what I do is I usually edge the analog stick to the left and then hit down, because otherwise Alyssa, the main character, does a quick turn animation, which is actually going to be about half a second slower than just straight up flicking the analog stick to the left or the right, depending on where the camera is. So this game is a survival horror game, and it is by Capcom, but it is not tank controls like it is in the vein of Resident Evil games. So somehow we just looked at a picture and now we're in London during World War II. The place is getting bombed to shit. There's ghosts everywhere. By the way, this is a submission video for AGDQ 2017, so I apologize for that. While this is YouTube content, I am making it very clear that I won't be making any more slip-ups like that. So this ghost over here, we can't pass around it normally. We have no choice but to use the item in order to, shall we say, put the ghost at peace. As soon as this camera angle changes, we can just go ahead and hit the holy water button because we are at exactly the right distance. Then go down these stairs here. There's another ghost over here. Picking up the ghost's familiar items and giving them back to their respective corpses gets you extra items. There is actually a 100% category centered around that in particular. But generally most of the items that you get are either going to be lavender waters, which are your healing items essentially, or invisibility bands, or sigil stones, which allow you to absorb an extra hit. I should talk a little bit about the health system in Clock Tower 3. Instead of a health gauge, you get a panic gauge, which you can see in the upper left. The number below the gauge is the number of holy water charges you have left. If your panic meter reaches max, then Alyssa will go into panic mode, and if she takes one hit, then she dies. But if you have a sigil stone, and I will be collecting sigil stones, probably like 2 or 3 during the actual AGDQ run, should this get submitted. Because sometimes the stalkers can be quite finicky, and that's the only time that the sigil stones are actually useful, is dodging stalkers. But I generally shouldn't need to use more than 2. So we grabbed a red desk key, which we will use on this drawer over here. But before that, we are triggering a cutscene, which introduces the first stalker, which is Sledgehammer. In classic Clock Tower fashion, you have a dude with a gigantic weapon running around trying to brutally murder you. As you can see, Alyssa pretty much has two hitboxes. One that's like her actual character model and another that's like stretched a little further out. If an attack lands in her second hitbox, then her panic meter raises, but only a direct hit can actually kill Alyssa. So we got to use the People's Chair against Sledgehammer in order to escape, forcing the player to use the item on the ghost in order to pass, and forcing the player to use an item in order to knock out the stalker or get him to move away is just a basic introduction to the mechanics of the game. We're going to move in a diagonal fashion across this bridge, and then refill our holy water. Because this is the beginning of the game, we only have a maximum of 3 holy water charges. But the rest of these holy waters are pretty much going to be the main line of safety throughout the first section of the game. We can actually skirt this edge because the event trigger kind of stretches pretty far to the left, so we only need to move in a straight line. Don't need to really angle ourselves towards that door. When this camera angle shows up, we'll hold upright and just move straight to the door. The direction at which you're moving carries straight through from one angle to the next. I apologize for how dark the video is. I didn't adjust the gamma on my FrameMeister while I was recording this. I actually recorded this video while I was at Smash the Record 2017 in my hotel room, so I didn't really have use of my usual capture equipment. So we have to pull this switch twice. I said we have to pull the switch twice. Not run forward and miss the switch the second time. Then we have to check this document, which tells us the solution to the puzzle. Well, it's really the cipher to the puzzle. This locker puzzle coming up here. But the code itself is 103. It's a very, very, very easy code to work out. And unlocking this locker gives us the master key, which actually only unlocks 2 doors, the main door and another door to the side, so it's not really much of a master key. For safety, I'm gonna run to the right and pick up this lavender water here. For world record strats, it shouldn't need any more than maybe 2 holy waters if you're really unlucky. I think I used maybe 3 holy waters this run. But we're gonna head to the left, and upon opening the door here, we need to angle ourselves towards the stairs, because the second the camera angle changes, Sledgehammer is gonna come right down on top of us. And it's an instant panic raise, so there's nothing you can do about it. Then as soon as the camera angle changes, we're going to hit triangle here and throw another holy water. Then we're going to open this locker while the sigil on the door is breaking. Then wait another couple of seconds because that animation is still happening. And while we're opening the locker, it actually freezes Sledgehammer in place. During camera angles where you're going through the door, or in other similar instances like opening that locker, where Sledgehammer just straight up can't come on the screen, it'll actually freeze the stalker in place. So it's pretty good thing to take advantage of. Head to the right and grab the matches. He's gonna slam his hammer once, but I want him to come forward just a little bit so that we can crawl under the rubble. It is possible to crawl under this without waiting, but the angle at which to go under it is actually really, really tough to hit. And then we have to go through the door immediately because there is the possibility that he can still attack and put us into full panic mode. Because Alyssa's hitbox is still stretched beyond the place that we just crawled out of. From this point on, he's going to keep chasing until we go to these stairs, and he'll just kind of stop chasing us while he's going down, but that's because he's going to ambush us in a sec. Just like jumps off the balcony in order to surprise us. When that door is opening, we're gonna try to angle in advance, try not to let go of the stick, because if we do, then there's the possibility of accidentally grazing the door. If even 1 pixel comes into contact with that door while you're trying to graze by it, then Alyssa will suffer a hard knockdown. And we will be more likely to hit panic by the time we reach this room and lose maybe about 10 seconds trying to get out of panic. I take a wide line around there to avoid a text box, saving about 2 seconds or so. We have to move in a straight line across this board. This is probably one of the few instances of RNG actually affecting the time that you will get throughout this area, because Alyssa can teeter over anywhere between 1 to 7 times going across one way. Sometimes you can get extremely unlucky, but it generally never happens more than 3 times per crossing. I've had it happen as close as the end of the second pass coming back across this bridge. But I got pretty good RNG on this, actually. Pretty good luck on this. Because it only happened like twice. We're just going to take a straight line towards the door. Actually, not a completely straight line, because if I did take a straight line, then he would have actually tagged me with the end of the sledgehammer, and it would have been a hard stun.
Alyssa, where are you?
But now that we have the pliers, we're going to head all the way back to the Norton Taylor.
Alyssa, where are you?
So that we can get through a door. All the while, Sledgehammer is going to be chasing us for quite a bit. This would actually be a good place to read a donation or two.
Alyssa, where are you?
Maybe not get caught up on the column on the side of the door there.
Alyssa!
Going to stay on the right side of this path, going towards the Taylor because it is the shortest line to run. Going any other way will add about 2 or 3 seconds by default. Even if you're like getting caught up on walls and stuff, We still want to be as far towards the door as we can get on the way in.
Alisa!
We have to wait for Sledgehammer to finish with his little monologue there before we can actually open the door. Then we're going to use the pliers and go to pick up the repellent arrow. Repellent arrows, what they do is they actually push the stalker back during a boss fight. There aren't very many enemies in the game. Just ghosts, butterflies, which, by the way, if you come into contact with a butterfly, it will increase Alyssa's panic meter and also summon the stalker if the stalker is not already summoned yet. And also there's the stalker itself. But generally you're only dealing with 2 enemies max per room. They're pretty creepy butterflies. But from here on, we're going to go straight to the first boss fight. There are boss fights in this game, and you actually turn into a magical girl before you do. Yes, you literally turn into Sailor Moon, and you start firing off spirit bombs. Like, you just get so mad having to run away from these guys for so long. That you just go full Super Saiyan and you start shooting spirit bombs at everything. So anyways, the way that works, while the health bar is filling up here, we can actually mash triangle to skip it. He doesn't have a very big health bar. What we're going to do is we're going to try to bait out that attack right there. It'll sometimes take him like 5 tries. I didn't back up far enough. But we have to wait until the arrow charges 5 times before we can fire it off and unleash our ultimate attack. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can see it grows like 5 times. If you time your arrow shots correctly, then you won't ever leave the same camera angle and you can actually quick fire your arrows. But this is it. Give me your energy, everyone. Spirit Bomb! It doesn't actually kill bosses instantly, but it does deal a pretty hefty amount of damage. So it's not always worth it to try to use the Spirit Bomb twice per fight, especially with the length of the animation. So now that that's done, we proceed back to the main stage of the piano hall in order to end the first level. So a little bit of rundown of the story of this game because I haven't gotten around to it. Alyssa is a boarding school student. She was sent to boarding school and she was told not to come back until her 15th birthday. And we're going to find out that that's because her grandfather went completely insane and is trying to use her as a ritual sacrifice in order to become a sort of god, essentially. The stalkers are called subordinates. And basically, Alyssa's grandfather aims to become an entity. So behind this picture, we need to pick up the winding keys. That's going to take us to a secret room behind Nancy's bedroom. Also, no lie, Grandpa's name happens to be Dick. And what a dick he is. My grandpa clearly didn't love me enough because he's not trying to kill me every 2 seconds. The solution to this puzzle is simply hit left 2 times. And then right 3 times. Excuse me. The solution is supposed to be 3 o'clock. So upon opening this door, before we change camera angles, we're just going to angle ourselves towards the portal square and use 2 holy waters. We need holy waters in order to open up the portal squares. That's another purpose behind the portal squares. For safety reasons, I go ahead and use the holy waters here, because we will get a free holy water recharge on the way back to the portal square via a cutscene. So we're just going to go ahead and deplete our holy water to 0 because we don't actually need to use it. I'm taking as straight a line as I can towards the other door here. Also, that ghost, what the hell is that ghost doing? So it took off about 3 seconds or so. This section is pretty much just skipping cutscenes and forwarding story. There is, I believe, a toy maker and also his mother. We're going to turn that moonflower to the north towards the picture, climb down the ladder, and pick up the kitchen key here. This would also be another good time to be reading donations, of course, being that it is just skipping cutscenes. But the toy maker and his mother were killed by a guy who just throws acid on everyone. I believe he may or may not be modeled after a real serial killer or not. I should probably check my facts, but that's what I've been told. Meanwhile, we're going to, I don't know, maybe just like kind of run into that wall over and over again for no reason at all. That was actually like a about 4-second mistake. And then trigger the cutscene here. Then pick up Dick's desk key, which is to the left. Go back through the portal. Then we're going to open yet another secret room. But this time it's in Dick's office. So I was mentioning earlier about repellent arrows, and there's also another item you could use called binding arrows. Basically what they are is they're used in boss fights. They are bound to the R1 key, and you use them in exactly the order you pick them up in throughout the course of the game. So you have only that much control over the arrows that you actually use in a boss fight. Personally, I've found that they don't save much time overall. To use them on any boss fights earlier than Scissor Woman, Scissor Man, and Lord Burroughs. Especially Lord Burroughs, because Lord Burroughs you have to actually set him up. But there's another repellent arrow here, and then we're going to grab a roll of photos. Film. Apparently I can't English today. But there's a setup for a quick kill against Lord Burroughs that I'm saving pretty much all of the arrows for, and I'm only picking up certain ones in a certain order. Like I picked, excuse me, I picked up the one at the Norton Taylor. Then I picked up the one in Dick's office. Because I plan to use 2 of those on Scissor Woman, because she dies in 2 repellent arrows. Then I will be getting another repellent arrow for Scissor Man in order to set him up for basically 5 binding arrows or so. At the time of this recording, my strategy for Scissor Man hasn't really been ironed out, but it's still reasonably fast. But going back here, we're going to be using the film, and very soon we're going to be encountering our good buddy John Hay, aka the Corroder. Before that though, we'll use the film, pick up this photograph that is sitting right here, showing the Corroder stuffing the body into the dumpster outside. And then another photo which shows that a picture that we walked by earlier has a switch behind it. So now we're going to go press that switch. Because we have full holy water charges, we actually don't need to refill our holy water, but at this point in the game, I would definitely recommend having 4 holy water charges because Corroder is a little bit of a pain in the ass. He doesn't have very nice hitboxes. So this is the intro cutscene. It's actually quite brutal. I probably shouldn't let it play. And coming into this, we're just going to be mashing the holy water button as fast as we can, then pick up the invisibility band, which we will be using on Chopper later. Go ahead and grab the toolbox key as well, which we need to grab the wrench in order to turn off the fans directly across from us and be able to pass in through there. There's a little bit of backtracking though first. A nice thing about holy water is that holy water actually passes through walls. I suppose pretty much every single attack in this game actually does pass through a wall, but I haven't really tested that theory yet. I mean, intuitively, you wouldn't think so, but the angle that I just threw the holy water at Corroder there just shouldn't have happened. So Corroder is opening the door here. We're just gonna like let him walk in. That didn't actually happen exactly like I thought it would. But see, he's also able to just frame trap you on the spot. He's able to just straight up combo you by knocking you over and then like doing a little butt bounce like he does there before you can even get up. And it raises your panic meter pretty considerably. Generally, I like to have a lavender water for this whole section in case something goes horribly wrong. As you can see, he also gains invincibility frames when he like runs into me and tries to jump at me. But if I'm going to be using holy water, or lavender water, excuse me, then I have to do it at a time. I have to do it at a time before he does another attack that will actually kill me, because I will likely be in panic when I'm using it. Case in point, but actually going through this door will put us into a not panic state. Ah, excuse me. That was very rude of me. You can see that I was trying to keep using the holy water against him, but he still had initiative against me. And now you can see what panic mode does. You can see Alyssa, she kind of moves a little bit faster than she's supposed to. I'm just doing this in order to save holy water, or lavender water, excuse me, but I really shouldn't have done that. I should have just gone ahead and used the lavender water to get rid of the panic gauge there. So I lost a pretty considerable amount of time there. It would have been more worth it to just grab another lavender water later. There is another binding arrow you can pick up if you grab the daughter's letter in the room outside of the stairs after the last time that Corroder surprised us. And then if you just jump off the boards while you're walking across, you have to climb those. You have to climb across those boards in a specific order. Otherwise, you will fall into the water. But if you fall into the water, then another dead body will drift across. It's actually the body that belongs to the ghost over here. I have no idea where that ghost is. But if you return its item to it, then you get a binding arrow. It's the only time that you get a binding arrow from one of the dead bodies. So it could save time. I don't know. I haven't really tested it yet. It could possibly save time on the first phase of Lord Burroughs if I decide to just avoid using repellent arrows on Scissor Woman and Scissor Man altogether. But a lot more testing needs to be done. Anywho, Corroder, sentenced to 605 years. What I usually do is I just stand here. Incidentally, if you hit him while he's spraying acid, then it will actually turn off its active damage frames, which is kind of interesting. After I bound him here, I decided to move back a little bit. But the
There she is. Prepare to die.
I usually call his attacks by the words he uses to announce them. So if he uses "there she is," then it'll actually hit you from long range. I'm just trying to keep him away from me in general and wait for him to say "prepare to die." And when he does that, when he says "prepare to die," then that's when I try to hit him with a full 6 charge. Whenever that happens, you can start binding him, and it usually takes about 3 or 4 binds before we can use a Spirit Bomb against him. But as you can see, it doesn't generally kill him. Due to how little the prepare to die cycle happens,
Prepare to die.
we can actually get away with using some lesser charged arrows that don't actually bind him. I actually kind of hope that I tag Corroder with a holy water, because then he's like, ah, hot, 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 ah! It's actually pretty funny. I'm kind of sad that I didn't get that this run. But generally, Twitch chat loves that when that happens. Oh wait, I actually did. You're right. I have to because, sorry, I'm actually reading chat while I'm recording this commentary. So, yeah. This is recorded in front of a live studio audience at twitch.tv/CarcinogenSDA. Say hi, YouTube. Picking up this other lavender water here for safety. But the general memeability of this game, I think, is actually quite high. Apparently we got stuck in an extra crawl cycle. But this sewer area here is going to introduce us to Chopper. Once again, as I mentioned earlier, we don't want to press straight down whenever we're doing a quick turn. We want to like do a little bit of a spinny motion with the stick. Otherwise we'll get stuck in an animation cycle that we don't want to get stuck in, where she's quick turning. It'll actually waste time. So there's our buddy Chopper. It's got a couple of hatchets.
Oh, nice trick.
He is also full of memes. And what we're going to do is we're going to get the hell away from him because we don't like memes here. Nope. So we're going to hit the elevator and go to B1. And grab this other invisibility band. I keep this invisibility band for safety, because the next session where we're going to be running away from him, also that camera angle triggers his appearance. It's actually probably best to go ahead and use a holy water against him now, so that he's stuck in a hit stun animation while we're picking up the gloves here. But because the area that we're dodging him in here is actually wide enough, it's probably not necessary. Whereas closer to the crowbar, you absolutely have to tag him with a holy water before you pick up the crowbar. Otherwise, you're probably going to get hit, and every hit from Chopper is going to be a hard stun. Like a hard knockdown. It's sometimes tough to stay moving in a straight line. Ah, dang. I actually did not get him there. There we go. Second time's a charm. So now I got the crowbar, and we're going to use the crowbar to get the card key, and we're going to use the rubber gloves to turn on the power to the card key door and then exit the area. But on the way, we kind of have to determine where exactly our good buddy Chopper's gonna be. I think if I actually go towards the card key first, then Chopper will just follow us. And I don't think I'll have to use a holy water. But the solution is upper right to bottom left, and then upper left to middle, and then... Wait a minute, that was the wrong way. Even I still get confused. Okay, so it's upper left to lower right, my bad, middle to lower left, and then upper right to middle. Damn, even in my commentary I get confused. It's alright. So we're gonna climb the stairs here. I think because we went down the stairs here, Chopper actually came out this door, so that's good to know. That way he'll just chase us. And the less time that we have to spend stopping and using holy water, the better. But now we're going to use this crowbar, and we're going to give this poor guy back his glasses. Some pretty nice spectacles, actually, I gotta say. Vintage. But he didn't take too well to getting them back because he just lost his head over it. I also did not mean to check that piece of paper. That's another pretty major time loss. I'm gonna climb that ladder. And then Chopper is gonna be waiting for us up here, and he's gonna throw an axe, which will bank off the wall here. I'm actually really, really bad at dodging that. But because Chopper will just be straight up chasing us this time, we can just go straight to the elevator here. Actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, we're going to wind up using that holy water either way, so... Might as well actually use the holy water later. And also go to use the cables later. Doing rerouting on the fly. Thinking about what's going to be best. So anyway, we have to go down the stairs here and then flick one more switch to turn on the power to the card key door. We still have 3 charges left, so... It is possible to totally clear this area without using any holy water at all. Personally, I prefer not to. If it means that I could save more time, but in the favor of a more consistent run, especially when there are slightly less risky but somewhat random time saves later, it's probably for the best to just go ahead and use the holy water. So there's another repellent arrow. I believe this is the repellent arrow we're going to be using against Scissorman. This is another reason why I don't really like to use holy water against Chopper there. In my previous run that I uploaded to my old YouTube channel, I actually did not use holy water against Chopper throughout the whole sewer section. That is also the most obnoxious baby crying sound I have ever heard in my entire life. So for this Chopper fight over here, there is a chance that we could lose time if he moves fast towards us, but otherwise if he's just like juggling his axes and moving forward, then we can just hit him with a 6 charge while he's in between that walkway and that tree. And he won't actually get towards us, we can just stand right here. Then keep getting 6 charges. Of course, when he sidesteps, we're just gonna like keep holding it because there's no way he will be able to break out of the bind, regardless of if he sidesteps or not, because he's just gonna be pulled right back into our general direction due to the way the map is set up here. Going to this stage here, we're going to see our dead ancestors talk about how they were sacrificed for some dudes to become entities. And then on the left side over here, we're going to use 2 holy waters to open up the portal here. And this is going to be a pretty long and tedious puzzle. I think I actually may have messed this up when I recorded this. I'm gonna go ahead and get the Earth Rooter Stone before this ghost's active damage frames begin. Well, okay, we didn't get out of there fast enough. I actually should have thrown a holy water, because I'm about to get more anyway. Then we're gonna drop the Earth Rooter Stone and grab more holy water to use against the ghosts here. It actually does save time to use the holy water against the ghosts. Gonna move over here towards the blue side. There's another repellent arrow, which will be saved for Lord Burrows. We'll take the Sky Rooter Stone and use it on the sarcophagus in the middle hallway. Just go ahead and grab this repellent arrow here. But the repellent arrows, along with binding arrows, if you pick them up in the correct order, can set up Burrows for what is essentially an inescapable combo, where you can just Spirit Bomb him repeatedly, and it's pretty sick. Next we'll grab the Sea Rooter Stone and use it on the sarcophagus to the right. The ghost cycles should be set up to allow us to sorry, they will be set up to allow us to just pass right through them. Sea Rooter Stone, go ahead and use this here, and then we're going to go back and pick up the yellow stone. Honestly, I wouldn't blame you if you just like wanted to fast forward through this entire section, because I agree this is like the most boring part of the game. You can bet your ass I would have donations read throughout this whole section. Then we'll take the Earth Rooter Stone and go to use it on the area to the left, but I think I messed this up and went through the center hallway, didn't I? Oh, I sure did. Yep. Yeah, no, that happened. So that was actually a pretty significant time loss, running down that way and running back. Since we have 2 holy water charges left, this is actually optimal holy water routing. We're going to use the holy water here because we're already at an angle to just go ahead and use it. Then we're going to grab the holy water bottle and then head directly to the left to pick up the compass of light. Then head back through the portal. We're already maxed out on holy water charges, so we can use this to our advantage. Not really use it to our advantage, but the holy water routing is really tight here, which is why I picked up the invisibility bands. Because if we accidentally use a holy water in the wrong place, or we somehow mess it up, which actually it is possible to do, even though we are literally just throwing the holy water on stationary objects, Alyssa can sometimes auto-aim towards Chopper on accident. I also go ahead and use the holy water on the portal here so that we're not using it while running away from Chopper later. It's a safety strat. But if we mess up, then we would actually have to go into the cabin, which is directly to the right off screen after this cutscene. It's a pretty major time loss, about 1 minute or so. But we have to go to the left here. It's actually kind of tough to figure out. It's actually kind of difficult to figure out a correct angle to run around those butterflies because they can just like chase you and, you know, sometimes catch you. Also, that axe just like went right over our head. We have to hit all these lion heads in a specific order, and when Chopper comes right back to us, we're going to use this invisibility band so that we can hit the
nice trick.
the third switch, and also get him to say his like meme catchphrase like 3 times in a row. Apparently I juked out his AI there a little bit. Then we're gonna grab the compass of light. We no longer have holy waters. We're just gonna like try to move as straight as we can towards the portal and try not to have him catch up. I actually think I could have gone back behind that first tombstone.
Yeah.
Should probably pay more attention to routing through that particular space the next time. Probably would have saved about a second. But since the portal is already open, we can just pass right through. I don't think that there's another place that we can get our holy water back any faster, so I go ahead and refill it here. Then use both the compasses. Then we'll go through the portal to pick up the old Rooter arrow, which will actually allow us to use our special attack against Chopper. The cutscene that we had to skip last time basically just showed that Chopper was completely immune. But now we have the old Rooter arrow. Then we'll grab the other binding arrow here. Definitely better to grab it on the way out, because we will be positioned just a few feet closer to it from that angle. Then there's a there's this whole sequence here. It's like not really it has more bark than it does actual bite. Basically you just try to hold up and, you know, try to keep moving in a straight line while the camera is shaking a whole bunch for no reason. Kind of artificial difficulty. It's actually pretty tough to die there. Probably wouldn't know actually. But anyway, chopper. After these messages. So anyway, we have to keep using a minimum of 3 charges against this guy to get him to keep flinching. And we have to keep doing it until he decides to back off and start trying to throw axes at us. Because we're kind of forcing his hand here. There he goes. But if you hit his axe with a 6 charge, then he doesn't get bound by it. So basically, you kind of want to shoot as soon as possible, as soon as he throws the axe. Otherwise, he can use that to get out of his binds. Once again, he just kind of ate that there. But the timer for the binding actually resets as long as you get a fresh bind off on him. So you don't really have too much to worry about. And now that we've shot so many arrows at him so many 6 charges at him that he can't move, then we're just going to use the Spirit Bomb on him. That fight actually went pretty good. Because we didn't have to fire off any extra arrows to deplete his HP after that. I'm not actually sure whether that was optimal or not. Actually, it couldn't have been optimal because the attacks that the enemies decide to use is pretty random.
Alyssa, wait for me!
So there's this whole sequence. We're just like running along, and our good friend Ron Weasley is running behind us in tow. Go back through here, angle to the left, head towards the left of this gurney, maybe run into the counter for like about a second, and then grab the labeled key A. There's no reason to pick up any other items throughout the whole area, but we're going to try to use a maximum of 3 holy water charges. The previous cutscenes that we skipped also introduce Scissor Woman and Scissor Man, Scissor Man Ralph and Scissor Woman Jemima. We have to grab this looking glass. That shelf there is locked, but that's because there is a mirror world, like an Alice in Wonderland type mirror world. And that shelf in the mirror world has a sigil on it that we have to break with holy water. So we need that looking glass to get through to it. We need to pick up 3 keys. In order to open a door to a portal square. Oh, I actually made a boo-boo there because sometimes Scissor Woman can come out of a different door. Like an earlier door as soon as we come in out of the portal, but the door that she came through was actually the door that we were supposed to go through. I should actually probably check and see if I could throw the holy water through that bed. That would actually save a pretty decent chunk of time. Actually, messed up there a little bit. But when she does like her little cheer thing, she's not particularly interested in trying to hit you nearly as much as she is trying to taunt you. Her pathfinding pretty much forces her to look exactly at the mirror before she attacks, if you're standing right there. So you can actually use that to your advantage. Similar to the yawn dodge in Resident Evil 1, actually. Capcom games use very, very similar pathfinding as far as their enemies are concerned.
Come on, Alyssa!
So now that the seal is broken, we picked up the labeled key B, and now we have all 3 of the labeled keys that we need in order to be able to transport ourselves to the final area of the game, which is the castle.
It's showtime!
The final area of the game is actually pretty long. Ooh, that was pretty nasty. It's pretty sick, nasty 180 he did there. Gotta make sure that we hit the labeled key there, and not accidentally look through the window. So then we'll use 2 holy waters here. Fill the holy water bottle while that animation is completing. That would actually be the best time to refill on holy water because, believe me, we are going to need every single drop. Also, our panic meter is dangerously high. Given that this is a world record attempt, I didn't pick up the sigil stone at the beginning of the game. Camera angle. Cue Scissorman Ralph. Gotta get some initiative on him. And run across this bridge. Use the holy water. I can imagine that the scenario that the developers of this game tried to cook up is pretty much an "are you effing kidding me" kind of scenario where you're like at the door, Scissorman's right on your tail, you can't get him away from you. So he's just gonna be like right on top of you. Pretty spooky, scary. But I'm pretty sure that's the last sealed door that we had to go through. For safety reasons, I went ahead and triggered this sequence which will despawn Scissorman. I know what you're thinking. What is going on? Why does Scissorman look all pretty boy? Why does Scissorman look like Kefka? And the answer is he's the original Scissorman. The Scissormen from the previous Clock Tower games are pretty much like... They're pretty much like demon spirits, I guess. Kind of modeled in a similar vein. But interestingly enough, like Dan and Bobby from the first two Clock Tower games, they're both siblings. This is a pretty slow section of gameplay. The ghost can chase us out here, but she can't actually hit us. We actually have full iframes here. I kind of wish there was a bit of a puzzle involved. But then again, I guess it wouldn't have made a difference. It would probably make this whole section just as boring as it looks. We had to read the note on that body where we despawned Scissorman earlier in order to reveal the existence of a metal bar that is loosened. For safety reasons, what I plan to do is despawn Scissor Woman here. But first we have to check the fireplace. She'll come right in. Then we can go and grab the A crest, which is in the back of the fireplace. Of course, we'll just get smacked. It's actually not going to do too terribly much damage against you if you get hit there. You know, it's actually probably not even worth it to do the despawn because she's just going to surprise you when you go around a bookcase in like 3 seconds anyway, so it's actually like a pretty big waste of time. Never mind, scratch that. We're gonna go ahead and use the A crest here while it's still at a suitable camera angle to do so. She's going to follow us, and then she's not going to follow us, and then she's going to magic her way right here. But if you mash triangle pretty much as soon as that camera angle changes, then you will always tag her with holy water. There's the end crest here. Also, for some reason, I thought that I physically had to press the circle button in order to crawl back through there. That is actually what I do not need to do. I was supposed to press X. Could have been a bit faster. Go right back here. Not really sure like what the correct angle here is. Well, I guess I did it correctly my first pass, so that's alright. To be honest, I could always have better setups for some of these. By the way, I apologize for some of the cutoffs. in this video, I actually had to record this with a live camera portable, so the video is split into 3 chunks and I had to edit them all together in Sony Vegas. So there is a little bit of stuttering in like 3 sections. And there's like a little bit of just like maybe like 1 second of missing footage per transition at most. Not the worst thing in the world, but I certainly wouldn't use this video to time my speedrun. I'm just going off of the splits that I got. As a matter of fact, I'll upload the Twitch VOD that I had of this run, so that the splits are there. This axe puzzle over here could actually kill you in 1 shot if you're not careful, which is actually a good reason to have sigil stones. We gotta go through the left Iron Maiden first in order to go into the basement and open the first gate, but then we have to wait for that axe to swing and then the horizontal axe to swing towards Alyssa before we move, because that'll put us on the correct cycle to actually move around at all. Next, we're going to pull this lever over here in order to cause these stone slabs to pull themselves up. Then we can actually go through this gate over here, and during the animation where this gate is opening up, that whole thread with the stone slabs coming down will actually freeze. We actually have a limited amount of time to make it through. Then there's this whole cutscene where fake Ron Weasley gets Alfred Hitchcocked in half. Don't question it. I highly suggest that you play through this game for its cutscenes. I think I might actually record like a no-hit playthrough later, because I'm pretty sure it is possible to complete this game without taking a hit. It'd be really tough. We have to do the axe puzzle 1 more time. Pretty much the exact same cycle. So we have to wait for that axe to come down and that other axe to swing to the left, because that will mean that the 3rd axe is completely reset. Be going through these gates here 1 more time. That other gate's gonna come down. I didn't do the spinny thing with the stick, so quick turn didn't work. I didn't get my second pass through that puzzle boneless. So the Scissor Woman fight, this is a little bit of a boss rush from this point on. The rest of the game is just 3 bosses. And Scissor Woman doesn't have a very large health pool, But the catch is, her auto aim is turned, like, Alyssa's auto aim is turned off for this section, excuse me. I wasn't sure whether that other repellent arrow was going to hit, so I just like kind of let it go in the middle of her attack animation, hoping that it would hit her while her hitbox was like right there at that point of the animation, and that little gambit paid off. So now we're gonna do Scissor Man. The way this boss fight is supposed to work is, actually I'm supposed to fire that repellent arrow a little earlier. What it does is it results in a hard stun. I think it's maybe 5.5 charges or 6. Nah, it's 6 in order to get Scissor Man. Oh man. It's supposed to be 6 charges in order to get Scissor Man bound. For some reason, Scissor Man is just going the opposite direction, which is perfectly fine by me, because it actually meant that we needed fewer tethers in order to let loose a Spirit Bomb. Usually it's either 6 tethers or the enemy has to be completely immobilized before you can use a Spirit Bomb. We don't have to use another Spirit Bomb, fortunately. Just a 6 charge. I wanted to do 6 charges there just to be safe and make sure that he would be 100% dead. Otherwise, he would have survived by a magic pixel. Shoutouts to magic pixels and chip damage, by the way. Totally a thing in Clock Tower 3. The rest of this, the rest of the game is pretty much just the ascent to the top of the clock tower and beating Alyssa's grandfather, who has been completely taken over by the entity Lord Burroughs, who's supposed to be like Dan and Bobby's father, I think, or an ancestor, because Lord Burroughs is actually like supposed to be 500 years old, so... Basically, the Hamilton family is loosely related to the Barrows family, who are like the main bad guys in Clock Tower 1 and 2. Even though it looks like it takes place in like a different universe or whatever, I'm pretty sure that's the continuity of the game. I should probably check my sources to make sure I'm right. We're not gonna, well, okay, I guess we're gonna pick that up. I'll pick up the repellent arrow as like, just in case my quick kill strategy doesn't work. What I usually do is I keep that last repellent arrow in order to keep Burroughs from breaking out of the his binds whenever I use them against him. Because if my strat fails, then I have to go and bind him manually in order to Spirit Bomb him. So having that extra repellent arrow is actually kind of handy. But otherwise, the way I've picked up all of my arrows, I should have repellent, repellent, bind, repellent, repellent, bind, repellent. And ideally, I shouldn't have to use that repellent. But the 2 repellent arrows are there to space out so that I can use the bind against him and get him in a full bind in 3 arrows. I actually kind of wonder if it would be possible to line up repellent, 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 bind with enough spacing. But here's how the strat goes. This is the final boss fight. For the first cycle, because he doesn't have as many attacks, it is the best phase to do the manual binds, I think. But it only takes 5 charges in order to hit him with a bind. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then I wait for him to go ha, and at the ha part is when I let go and use an arrow. I try to make sure that my spacing isn't too far off, because if I'm too far away when I let loose the arrow, then he's going to get off that ball of purple yarn or whatever it is, as you're about to see. I shot that too early. I have no idea why I shot that too early. But that was a pretty good first cycle. So at this point, it should actually be pretty good spacing to go ahead and use a 5 charge here. What I'm supposed to do is wait for him to say there's no escape. And then I fire off 2 binding arrows and then another, or sorry, yeah, fire off 2 repellent arrows and another bind. Then I do a 5 charge here. I should do a 6 charge actually, that'd be safer. And then I can bind him in 3 chains completely, and then fire off another Spirit Bomb here. But the third phase is going to be a little more tricky because he has all of his attacks, and sometimes whenever he uses There's No Escape, you're actually about to see some BS here. Not here, but the next cycle, 4, 5. I got a little too greedy here. And here I thought that I was actually about to royally screw the pooch. But apparently it was just far enough distance for him to be caught in between both of them. But when he says there's no escape, once he starts on the first frame of saying there's no escape, that attack is always 100% going to come out. But with that, that is the last Spirit Bomb, and it is enough to finish him off. Then after that, it's one more really short line to the end trigger, where we will call time. So next he says, Alyssa takes strength for me, and then we wait a second. What I do is I wait for him to attack, and time is here. So I wait for him to attack, and depending on the attack he uses, that's going to determine whether I run in front of him or behind him. And here's the ending.
Give up, grandfather. I won't allow the ritual to happen.
Never!
Who knew that Alyssa was secretly a Jedi? You know, now that I think about it, I wonder if the Japanese Clock Tower 3 actually took place in Japan, but the localization and like all the English language pointed to it taking place in England. Because Clock Tower 2 was kind of similar in that regard, in that Clock Tower 3, or Clock Tower 2 in the Japanese dub, took place in Japan. But in the English version, it was in like,
Dennis!
I don't know, northeastern United States.
Dennis!
But a very, very Japanese northeastern United States.
Mum, we did it! We did it, Mum!
And that was Clock Tower 3. But anyways, everyone, thank you very much for watching. I greatly appreciate it. If you guys enjoyed what you see, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also hit that notification bell or whatever. I have no idea what's going on with YouTube's whole video delivery system these days, but it can't be good, you know. Also, I stream Clock Tower 3 and other survival horror games and similar games. Either survival horror, you know, PlayStation, or just like anything similar. Action games, RPGs on my Twitch channel pretty much daily at twitch.tv/CarcinogenSDA. So, definitely be sure to follow me there. I do it every day. So I stream pretty much anywhere between 40 to 60 hours a week, you know. All of my other gameplay videos on YouTube and their respective playlists can also be found in the description if you want to check there. And also, once again, this was recorded in front of a live studio audience at twitch.tv/CarcinogenSDA. I apologize for repeating literally the same joke twice, but, you know, just wanted to give a shout out to my stream monsters who put up with me recording this stuff live and just completely ignoring them altogether. That's a lie. I'm not ignoring them at all. I'm actually totally reading chat the whole time. But with that, thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next video. Later. 93,100 rooter points.